y'all, welcome to Wisdom Wednesdays. It's your girl, Coach Crystal. And if I haven't seen you or if we haven't been together, Happy New Year. Happy 2023. It is all about we in 2023. So, welcome to the first live broadcast of Wisdom Wednesdays for 2023. If you're just joining us, I'm Coach Crystal, the Vision Coach. The purpose of Steps and Stages and this Wisdom Wednesday platform is to really give voice to some of the questions that we know people have about transforming their lives, but also to bring some people into the room, into your awareness, who I admire, who I love, and who I constantly learn from. If you just joined our community, we want to welcome you in with our mantra that just says a lot of things happened before this, and I guarantee a lot of things are going to happen after this, but we promise to be here with you now. Please be here with us now. Now, if you missed our New Year's Eve celebration, our Vision Camp virtual for New Year's Eve, you can catch the replay. You can jump right over to ssvisioncamp.com and grab the replay. And if you haven't yet gotten your copy of Steps and Stories, the new 30-day devotional of 30 days of growth with grace, you can also jump over to crystalbrown.com and get your autographed copy before February 1st when the official rollout to all major suppliers goes live. So tonight, as our first entree into 2023, I get to talk to one of the most integral, energetic, and intelligent people that I've ever had the pleasure to meet. And he just happens to be one of my frat brothers. I mean, I just throw that out there. I mean, I'm not biased to anything, but JaMaury Norris is here with us tonight, y'all, to talk about health and wealth. And you know that if you've been a part of the Wisdom Wednesdays family and podcast or our platform in general, you know that we're talking about holistic health and wealth. So not just what's on your plate, but the value system behind it, not just what's in your bank account, but what do you do with it and how you really build a life you love. So please help me welcome to Wisdom Wednesdays, JaMaury Norris, Mr. Health and Wealth.
What's going on? What's going on? Look, when you said Fred, I was in the background.
I know.
Don't make me turn up now. Don't make me
We
turn up.
don't want to hurt anybody, and we don't want to alienate anybody. We just
Yeah, of
saying,
course
y'all. We
not.
just
Of
saying,
course not.
connection on connection on connection,
You
right? It's like
know, first fam
compound.
represent.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Jamari,
Definitely.
I can't even imagine introducing you without talking about who you are as a man, an amazing father, husband, intellectual, but tell people who you are in your own words.
Absolutely, absolutely. JaMaury Norris, passionate about financial literacy and just passing that knowledge on to the next generation. Um, Husband, father, speaker, author, just somebody who wants to, leave a legacy, um, you know, that transfers beyond me, and that leaves people better off than they were before. So I'm just about, trying to spread some knowledge at the
Yeah.
end of the day.
Yeah. I mean, okay, so let's go back a little bit. How have you
Yep.
been doing that? I mean, you have so many ways that you've influenced communities, that you've been a part of people's lives, that you've
Mhm.
mentored, that you've changed people's financial understanding of not just themselves, but their families. Like, let's give them a little bit of background about how you've done that in the past.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I started off, wanting to become a public speaker, and within that, becoming a public speaker, I found that my niche was financial literacy because every time I would talk to people, it would always lead down that road. Like, okay, well, what you doing with your funds?
Mhm.
like, what you know, what I'm saying, oh, you need to know this before you get too far into life because
Yeah.
it's going to make a huge difference in how try to pursue the life that you want. So between that and then after that became an author of Healthy Wealth 101,
Love it.
and which was a book that I wrote mainly to help high school students and college students transition into adulthood without making the same financial mistakes that we made, our parents made.
Hmm.
And then from there, I ended up, because I had a love for investing in the stock market, ended up becoming a stock investing coach. And so between that, speaking in high schools and colleges and things of that nature, my ultimate goal, like I said, is just to spread that knowledge and that financial literacy, so that we can be better off as a people.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and y'all, he got a mean 2 3 step too. I'm just he might not say that,
I
but
do a
don't
little.
catch him don't get it twisted. Don't catch him on the dance floor thinking it's just gonna be average. Okay, don't
Oh
do
yeah.
that.
I catch people off guard because I'm like naturally like laid back,
Yeah,
and then like the music come on, they be like, "Was that the same guy that was
yeah.
just step?"
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
that was
Don't
me.
get it twisted. It's
Yeah,
full on lit, full on
it'll get serious real
courage,
quick.
right? It's interesting, Jamar, right? Because oftentimes we get back to this question of money. How much
Mhm,
does it cost? Can I afford it? Am I
mhm,
worth it? Right. And
mhm.
especially over on our side in my work, we're constantly trying to ask people, well, what is the value you're trying to create?
Yeah.
Right. And if we're
Hmm.
constantly looking at this value structure that's been handed to us, we're always going to fall short. So, how do you help people
Absolutely.
reconcile that can I afford it monetary price tag with can you afford not to build this legacy of the life you want?
Absolutely. The term ignorance is bliss is the furthest thing from the truth, especially when it comes to financial literacy.
Yeah.
So you can't afford to be ignorant to the things that you're going to use every day of your life.
Yeah.
Like we go to school, we go to high school, we go to college, and we get these degrees, and we're well versed in whatever field of study that we're getting our degree in just to get money, but we don't know how to manage it. We don't know how to grow it. We don't know how to build it. So
Hmm.
therefore, we end up becoming a um, a slave to just working into stuff,
Yes.
right? I mean,
Hmm.
we have this thing what we call the American dream,
Yeah.
right? So the American dream is you grow up, you get your nice 6-figure job, you get married, kids, you got the
Hmm.
white picket fence,
Hmm.
but in all of that, no one told us that, okay, that all has a financial price tag. And the way
Yeah.
that we've been doing it is totally wrong. And to be frank, a flat out lie,
Yeah.
because we go to college. Most of us have student loans.
Hmm.
All right, if you didn't get the scholarship, so now you've made one of the biggest financial decisions that you can make. You don't even have a job yet, and then now you get a car, which is probably on credit.
Uh-huh.
You get married and you spend all this money on a wedding for 2 hours, right? you know,
Hmm.
and then now you buying a house and you got a mortgage, and now you're forced to work for this lifestyle instead of actually enjoying
Yeah.
life itself.
Yep.
So you're actually working backwards, or as a mentor would say, you're working just to get back to zero.
Yes.
Uh,
Right.
and that's just not a life to live.
Yeah. But also, like, even if we had the mental awareness, spiritual awareness, physical, whatever you want to call it, if
Hmm.
we had the courage, let's call it courage, to ask in the beginning, is that even the life that I want?
Absolutely, because I think a lot of times the life it gets painted for us,
Yeah.
um, whether it's by society or by our parents
Hmm.
or what we see in the media.
Yeah.
You get kind of thrown into um, this cookie cutter life, if you will, of okay, you're taking pieces from what you see and what you experience, but none of those really have your true identity in it. So now you end up living 20, 30, 40 years and you
Yep.
just like, you know what, that's not what I thought I wanted, you
No.
know?
No. And I have, I'm sure you see this too, right? We get so far down this path that's already manufactured
Correct.
because it's so easy. It's so easy to say yes to the thing that's already there. We
Correct.
don't question it, which means we don't question ourselves. We
Hmm.
end up making decisions based on someone else's rubric. And
Correct.
then by the time we are ready to retire, we don't know what to do with ourselves.
No clue.
None.
No
None.
clue.
Oh,
It's amazing because like most people either they'll retire just to go back to work
right.
because they don't have an identity true to themselves to say, okay, this is what I'm going to do. Like that's why I tell people like practice retirement before you retire.
Okay.
Like start living that life
Right.
because you don't want to be in shock when it does happen and your alarm clock goes off at 6, 7 o'clock and you
Yeah.
like,
Where else was it go?
yeah, like like what's going on? Like you showing up to work just to say hi.
Yeah, right,
Like
right. People don't get it that what we're building in health, in wealth, in life are a bunch of patterns. And if we let
correct.
the pattern become more important than our personality or our purpose, we're just a slave to the pattern.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think you're spot on when you say creating those patterns. And I think that's why, like with me and my wife, before we had Collins, I mean, we traveled a good bit,
Yeah.
and because we never wanted to be that couple that just kind of, okay, well, we'll wait until this, or we'll wait until that. Now
Yeah.
we were broke and still traveling. It was like, we gonna go up to Memphis, we gonna go to New York, we gonna see something,
Something.
right? So now that we have our daughter, it's like when we went to Dubai, it was like, okay, she going with us, and they were
Yeah.
like, y'all taking her? Absolutely, we ain't finna. This ain't finna stop the show. Like, we ain't finna do that. We ain't finna do that. Like, people had kids and then they like their life just stopped. I'm like, no, nah, we finna keep the ball rolling. So,
Yeah.
and then now she's used to it. She has a passport, and she got stamps on it. So, it's one of those things that we just want her to have the exposure of what that looks like, so her life doesn't become like mundane. It's like she
Right.
has something to
Right.
look forward to
Right.
outside of regular life.
Well, I think that's, so important, right? Because we are often not, this is parents out there, hear my real voice from my heart. Do not take this personal. Many of us are often blaming our children for what we can't do when the children are not asking for that in the first place.
Ah, spot on, spot on. You had them kids.
Okay.
Like, so don't get mad at the kids because now you can't do what you said you was gonna do when you wasn't even doing that in the first place.
Exactly right.
Come on. If
Right.
I ain't had a kid, I'd be doing. You wasn't doing that before.
Right.
You
Right.
know what I'm saying?
So we want
So
to be honest, right? We got to be honest in order to even get to that next stage of health or wealth.
correct,
Because if we
correct.
can't say what we would really love, then all we're going to do is default to the pattern. And one of
Hmm.
those blaming patterns is always about what if rather than what is. Thank you, Dr. RJ, for that one. What if
Yeah,
or what is, right? Like what are we
correct.
doing, right? And the fact is that you didn't have the courage to do those things before the child, but now you just have another excuse that will
Absolutely.
keep you from combating your own fear.
Yeah, and we love excuses.
Oh yeah, but we
It's-
don't.
it's-
Though.
yeah.
That's right. We're not gonna keep everybody. It's a Founders Month for a lot of
Yeah.
people. We're not gonna keep excuses.
Monuments or nothing. We
Okay,
already know.
okay.
It's been ingrained.
It's been ingrained, right? But that's so interesting, right? Because when we get to this place of health and wealth,
Mhm.
what we're really talking about is the integration of our physical, mental, spiritual, emotional body so that we can
Absolutely.
experience freedom.
That's what it boiled down to.
Yeah,
My goals every year is always financial freedom, time freedom, and location freedom.
yeah,
And in order to do that, you have to manage your wealth as well as your health accordingly.
yeah.
So many times people will sacrifice their health to chase wealth, only to find themselves having to sacrifice their wealth to maintain their health, because now you get to a point where you realize what's most important,
Right.
because you can't do nothing if you're not mentally there, if you're not physically there, you
Right.
you can't do nothing.
You
So
can.
it's so you got to put emphasis on both, more so emphasis on the health, because health is what's going to give you your time, and
Mm,
time is your most valuable asset. I can get money back. You can
yeah,
lose money, you can get money. You can't get time back.
you can.
And health is what's going to be able to sustain that. So if you really want to create longevity from a wealth standpoint, you need to invest in your health as much as possible,
Yes. Yeah. And during
physically and mentally.
well, that's what I was gonna say, because right during the pandemic, what we saw is that most people really started to understand where the gaps were in their mental health.
Absolutely.
Right. And then they wanted to fill those gaps by getting more information about how to be healthy, help more healthy mentally.
Hmm.
But in that cycle, many of them got a little, I would say, we don't even use this word in steps and stages. We don't use, we say overflowing, but some people got overwhelmed,
Oh yeah.
right, with the things that were in their own mind.
Yeah, because you have to get to a point where you can just be without anything else. Like can you do that? Can you just be comfortable in your own skin
Yeah.
without any other distractions
Right.
or anything occupying yourself or your
Yep.
time? And I think that's what the pandemic showed, because now it's like, okay, well, I can't go to work. I got to be here. It's like, what am I supposed to do? Like, this is what was defining me
Hmm.
every single day. And
Yeah.
now I have to find something else that defines me, when you don't actually have to find something else that defines you, because inside, internally is what should define you. But most people, had to come to that realization.
I mean, that, of course, you're preaching to the choir over here, right?
Absolutely.
The vision is not something we're getting to. The vision is something we're just uncovering from the inside, because
Absolutely.
the
Absolutely.
education the education is an overlay, right?
Mm-hmm.
The handbags are an overlay. The
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
houses are an overlay. The bank
Mm-hmm.
accounts are an overlay, right? Because at the end of the day, when all of those are shut down, what do we do with ourselves?
Correct.
Yeah,
Correct.
yeah,
Nah, spot on. Spot
yeah.
on.
This idea of legacy comes up a lot, JaMaury,
Mm-hmm.
right? In terms of health and wealth, this idea of legacy and leaving things behind for the next generation, but also preparing ourselves to, I would say, clear that pathway. Now, I'm just going to say this from the kind of African American perspective, right?
Mm-hmm.
Many of us have gotten to a place in life where we've made it a little bit too easy for the next people who come behind us,
Absolutely.
right? And then
Absolutely.
we hear the other side of it, like, well, hard work doesn't make it better, but process does,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So I'm not saying my son has to work as hard as I did, but he has to understand the process by which this came to be his reality,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
When you're talking to clients about that, how do you grapple with those issues?
Well, the thing is, when it comes to, because everybody wants their children or their legacy to have it better than they are, or
Hmm.
what have you. And sometimes it's not about, necessarily providing everything that you didn't have, but it's more so providing everything that you didn't know.
Mm,
Um, because there's a distinct difference,
yeah,
because we think that because we're providing something, that we're teaching, and we're not. All
yeah,
right.
yeah.
Um, it's almost it's like the difference between, providing and enabling. Sometimes we are enabling more so than we are providing.
Yeah.
So when it comes to that, it's like, look, you can definitely provide the necessities for your children, but also make sure that you are teaching them why, the things that we have.
Hmm.
Because you can always say, well, back in my day, we I used to walk to school 5 miles.
Right.
Y'all kids got,
Okay. Self, y'all, self.
I I
Yeah.
had an encyclopedia. I had to look up and cite words, and I had to go through the Rolodex.
Okay.
So, well, that may be true, but that ain't what it is right now. So
Right.
let's just face the facts. So it ain't like you finna whip out the encyclopedia. No, I'm finna
Right.
go to Google, right?
Right.
Come on now. So we get that, but you have to make sure that they have a complete understanding of why it is that you have, and things that, the things that you're afforded. So,
Yeah.
back in the day, it was so taboo to talk about money, or to ask adults, like, you ain't never know what your mom and daddy made.
Yeah.
You
Right.
ain't never,
Until it
like,
was too late.
yeah, you stay out of grown folk business,
Right.
right? But I think it's so important to have those conversations, especially when they start to get to the point where they have the concept of money.
Yeah.
Like, let's go through the budget. Let's let's go through these bills. Like these lights ain't just on just because
Mm-mm.
you're such a great person.
Okay.
Like like let's break this down. Like that
Yeah.
you can't see that Wi-Fi in here, but that costs too.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But because kids are just like creatures of habit, they just think that this is the way that it is,
Yep.
but don't associate any type of cost. They don't understand sacrifice. They don't
Yep.
understand, going to work and the exchange of money and bank accounts. They don't understand that. They just know that when I come home, there's food, there's a vehicle, there's lights. So I think having those conversations with your children to better help them understand will better prepare them so they don't think that this stuff is just going on by osmosis.
Right. Right.
You see what I'm saying? So
Right.
having those conversations that were kind of taboo in our age with your parents, so they know what it is,
Yeah.
and and just leading by example and teaching those good habits.
Yeah.
That way they understand that okay, this is what we're and when you talk about the legacy, let them know like yo, this is what we're doing to set up some things for you in the future
Right.
so that it may be easier. Now, here's the deal. We ain't just finna cash you out.
Okay. Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
We saw how that went with the prodigal. We've seen that already.
Yeah, we ain't finna just cash you out so you can just go ball out, you know what I'm saying? Because then
Uh-huh.
you can't come back like, all right, I messed up. Let me,
Yeah. No.
please take me back, please.
No.
Please
No.
take. Yeah, so help them understand like you like my daughter has some things set up, but yeah, you still gonna have to figure that thing out because I couldn't appreciate or get to the point that I am now if I didn't go through the process.
Right. 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 Right.
And even now you're still learning and you're still growing and you're still finding new ways to be appreciative of where
Mhm.
you are,
Yep.
um, because life is a process. It's a
Yeah.
continuous process, and you're constantly learning. So I think making sure that you don't just hand stuff like as far as the lessons and because some things like sometimes you may just have to touch that proverbial stove to know that it's hot.
Exactly. Right.
You know,
Because teacher the experience is a great teacher.
the best teacher,
Right.
the best,
Right.
because of course, as kids, we were at that point where we didn't think our parents knew that what they were
Right.
talking about,
Right. Right. Yeah.
so we had to experience some things and be like, you know what, Mm,
Yeah.
I probably should have listened,
Yeah.
right?
And it's exactly what you're saying, right? With money, with health, with wealth, with building and sacrificing and losing and, failing and trying to get it back and really reorganizing your principles and your values, understanding can only come after experience.
Absolutely,
Right?
absolutely.
Because I can say it to you all day, but I think sometimes we get so excited being in this infodemic that we
Mhm.
think because we have the information that we actually have understanding.
No, no, you don't,
No,
because you can have information overload and just be like,
stuck.
yeah, like okay, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah,
And because like we look at this information age and we're like, man, if I had this when I was, what I would have did.
yeah,
But you got to realize this is all they know, so they can't compare it to anything else.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, you have to get to that. And I'll add one more point as
yeah,
well as it relates to building that legacy and building wealth for generations to come. And I tell people currently that are adults, you have to get to a point where you are comfortable with enough.
Mm, I'm sorry. Wait a minute, because now you're asking people to define something like success for themselves.
you
I'm sorry, what?
you have to get there has to be a threshold where it's like if I don't move any further,
Uh huh.
this like I am blissfully happy with this level.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that's very difficult, especially in today's society,
Yep.
because we like it's grind, get it, burn the midnight oil. You got to, what I'm saying? You got to do this, you got, what I'm saying? It's like that mentality that it's never enough. We're
Right.
constantly moving the finish line, constantly moving. Okay, you did this, now you got to do this. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
we did this last month, we did this last year, now we got to do this, and that's cool, and I get it.
Yeah.
Please believe me, I get it.
We're not killing ambition.
Yeah,
No.
yeah, because you know, I want to say that I'm somebody that's gonna grind, like no other. But then it has to be a point, and I had to come to this realization.
Yeah.
It's like what's enough, and not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily always financially, but what's enough. Like, what are you mentally comfortable with
Yes.
to say, you know what? I'm like when I'm like in this space, I'm happy,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I'm cool with that.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
because it gets to a point in speaking, just to be to kind of direct it strictly to finances.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to get to a point where you taking care of everything. Like financially, there's a number
Yeah.
for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
There's a number where it's like, you know what, this takes care of everything, and I got some overflow, so I'm good.
Yeah.
And most of those numbers is not $1 million, because that's the number. I
That's
want
it.
to,
That's
the,
the number.
yo, I'm trying to get to this millie, trying to
Right.
get to this millie,
Right. Right.
and that's cool. But you have to get to the point, well, where is enough?
Yeah.
Because the reason why a lot of people end up in financial trouble is because they keep moving that finish line, and then not only are they moving that finish line, they're increasing their lifestyle to meet that finish line, and then you end up in a world of hurt. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? When you're not managing correctly, so you gotta have that enough.
Yeah.
Gotta
Because
have that.
I mean, honestly, what you're saying, JaMaury, is where we see the real disconnect between the internal and the external value.
Correct.
Right?
Absolutely.
Like when we don't have enough, that translates into I am not enough.
Facts.
And when we
Facts.
are not enough, nothing is okay. Right? I mean, I know this firsthand. Like I just people, I mean, some people may understand this about me. But everything counts, right? So all of my life is a part of my coaching practice. I grew up in a house with a father who lost both his legs in Vietnam on his second tour. So let's
Mm.
be clear, right? Like he was a gambling man. Okay. So
Hmm.
you go to Vietnam once, you come back home, you might just need to, chill.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was about having more. It was about I can make more in this army scenario if I go back again, right?
Correct.
And
Correct.
literally, one of the stories that's kind of floated through my family is that my father got the guy in front of him stepped on a landmine, right? He's gone. My father caught the fragments of that and lost the majority of both of his legs.
Hmm.
But he told my mother, I looked in my pocket, babe, because I had been gambling that night before and I ran that whole table. I had to make sure I still had my money.
Wow.
Right?
Priorities.
Right. But this is what happens
Hmm.
when we keep pushing for more without saying what the more is even for.
Correct. Correct.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. You have to. I mean, that's heavy. That's heavy. Because that's what, and it's crazy because in America,
Yeah.
America is built on capitalism
Yeah.
and debt.
Yeah.
When you think from a financial standpoint, it's built on
Right.
cap.
Right. Right.
So we over here we trying to get money.
Yeah.
If it's we can put a price tag on it, we gonna put it on it,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
and sometimes to the detriment of other people. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
And that's just how we roll in America.
Yeah.
I mean, and then we're a debt driven society.
Yeah.
Everything is debt. We got taken off of the gold standard. Everything is pretty much numbers in the computer.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, you want a stimulus check? Hey, go ahead and throw $1 trillion in there real quick. Go ahead and throw everybody some change. All
Right.
right. And and it's like, okay, yeah, but we're gonna need that back intact. But so it's like you have to realize that you don't have to subscribe to this manufactured notion
Yeah.
that you have to do this like everybody else does it.
Mm-hmm.
But the only way to get to that point, hey baby, go. What you need? Nothing.
Can I do freckle?
You can do freckle. All right. All right. Let me finish up. All right. You
That's well.
have
That is well.
you have to get to the point where, like I said, internally, you are comfortable with who you are, because that's the only way. Because, like I said, if you're not complete with the internal, the external will always run you.
Yes.
It will always determine what it is that you need to have, what you need to buy, what you need to experience.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so you have to be comfortable enough. Like one of my things in my books, like one of the I think it's like the top 5 money habits or bad money habits
Yeah.
is the ability or the lack of discipline to say no.
Mm. Mm. Mm-hmm.
Because I
Yep.
tell people, it's like, it's not that you don't have it.
Yep.
You just don't have it for that. Because based on what I'm doing
Uh-huh.
internally,
Yeah.
that I can't put the money on that.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
But we feel guilty. Girl,
Mm-hmm.
you want to go out? We finna fly to New York, blah blah blah. You know, like, well, actually, nah. What you mean you ain't got what? You know, blah 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 blah. Nah, bruh. You
Yeah.
sometimes you just gotta be like, nah.
Right, but we can't. The people. Okay, this is amazing, right? Because what you're talking about is debt and capitalism, right? Which
Yep.
basically internally translates into aspiration and disappointment. And then when we don't have a clear trajectory for our life, I'm going to call it a vision. What we fall victim to is not being clear with the expansion of our yes and
hmm
being hurt by the inflection and the clarity of our no.
I like the way you put that. Yeah,
Right,
need to write that down. I like
right,
that explanation.
right. Because no then feels like it's a bad word.
Ooh, man. No, like the weight that no carries for some people is just like, I can't deal with it. Okay, let me just say yes, because I
Right.
can. The weight that no puts on my shoulders
Yeah.
just makes me feel like, no, let me, okay, stop. Okay, I'll do it. I'll do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And once you get past that point,
Right. Right. But Jamar, we're both, I think we're both saying the same thing here. Like you can't get to that point of being clear with your no until you're clear with who you
you
are and what
are.
you actually want. Like
That's
you're gonna
right.
the yes is already in the plan, in the manufacturer's plan.
Oh yeah, yes is we're marketed to say yes. We're
Yes.
conditioned to say yes. It's like, why say no when yes is just so much more fun? You know
But
why?
but then, on my side of things, and I love my clients and I love everyone who I get to talk to for their vision calls. But when I hear people say no to themselves about doing the work of like this real deep work, like you spent $80,000 on a graduate, you done spent this amount of money, right? And this is not even this is a tenth of that, and I'm saying this is about you. And I don't know if I can. The money's gonna go somewhere.
Yeah,
It should be going to you.
I think that is one of the biggest just misconceptions, and we're not trained
Yeah.
to believe that we are worth more than the external.
Yes.
So therefore, we don't invest in the internal.
Yep.
Like you said, we go and pursue these dreams, these goals to achieve these magnificent feats, but in the process, we don't take the time to work on ourselves.
Yes.
And a lot of times is because in the back of my mind, a lot of people don't think that they're worth being worked on. They don't believe that they deserve to be the best version of themselves,
Amen.
because they're clearly defining themselves
Mhm.
by the external,
Yep.
what they do, their degree, their house, their car, instead of saying like, Like I'm a pour into me. Like you can't serve from an empty vessel.
You can't.
So you doing all this stuff and you working circles around people, but you a mess on the inside.
On the inside. And you got to deal with you on the inside
Every day you got to deal with you.
every day.
24/7. Like the folks you dealing with at work, at least you get a break from them. But you with you, you with you all day long,
Okay.
24/7,
24/7.
365.
Oh my God.
So yeah, so when it comes to that, like I said, working on you mentally, emotionally, physically, nutritionally,
Mm-hmm.
uh, let's not skip over that because
Nah.
I promise, like, and we've been, and I don't want to jump the gun. I'll let you go because I will get
Yep.
to that when we get to
No,
that.
go.
Look. So it's crazy. So my tagline is Mr. Health and Wealth.
Mhm.
All right. People want to know about the wealth, but don't nobody want to know about the health. Right. So it's crazy, and it's more about it's more than about like working out because you've heard the term you can't outwork a bad diet. People have to realize that stress is a real thing.
Mm-hmm.
The chemical imbalance in your body is a real thing.
Yep.
But what people are not understanding is that everything that you put in your body impacts and affects how you function as a human, physically
Yes.
and mentally. No one ever, and this is as I started doing my research because
Right.
I was vegan for like 2.5 years,
Yeah.
and then I'm mostly plant based now. But I'm so particular because this is what happened. I went vegan on an accident. It was a challenge
Uh-huh.
that the governor was doing for the city of Jackson. I was like,
Mhm.
let me see if I can do this 30-day challenge, right?
Yeah.
I was already not doing red meat and pork because hypertension, blood pressure, and diabetes. Run deep. I was like, I'm gonna kind of stay away. And I love baby back ribs. You know what I'm saying? I ain't had none in like 8 years,
Okay.
but I love. You know what I'm saying? The smell still. I'm like, I see you over there. So, but once I did that challenge, and this was before like all this plant-based stuff was like real
Right.
popular.
Right.
So it was a struggle trying to figure out
Fine.
what to eat, and
Yeah.
did the 30-day challenge. We was in Jamaica on the 30th day. So I'm done. I'm like, where the jerk chicken hut at? Right?
Mm-hmm.
I go hit the jerk chicken, hit the thigh, bam. Within seconds, my body was rejecting it. And I was like, hold up. So I'll put that to the side because I don't want to mess up the trip. You know what I'm saying? I ain't trying to be sick in Jamaica.
Yeah.
Got back to the States, started doing all this research because I realized that my body was at a very heightened level. It was almost at an apex as far as health was concerned.
Mm-hmm.
That when I put something foreign in it, my body was like, yo, what are you doing?
Yes. Right.
So when you get to the point where your body speaks to you after you put something in it, like that's a different, like your cells is talking to you. That's a whole different thing. But people never even get to that point because they are not making the correlation that what I put in my body affects my body.
Mm-hmm.
No one ever makes that correlation until the doctor says you're gonna have to change this up, or you're gonna lose a leg,
Yeah.
an eye.
Yeah.
Something's gonna happen.
Yeah.
But it's like it shouldn't take that. You know what I'm saying?
But JaMaury, like, if you don't know my background, y'all, the professional dancer for over 30 years, the body is talking to you all the time. People just not listening.
Oh damn! They don't want to listen. They don't want to listen because here's the problem with when it comes to the health side and when it comes to food.
Yeah.
Because there's the exercise industry is $1 billion industry.
Yeah.
Multi-billion dollar.
Yeah.
And the reason that is because they know you ain't gonna do right.
And they know that the external don't match the internal
Absolutely.
half the time, and they banking on that.
Banking on it. So that's why you got these surgeries. Say people get them surgeries, they're gonna get the latest. Gym memberships be up. You got that membership, you ain't going, you ain't using it.
The $200 waist trainer.
Absolutely. The way, oh yeah, you waist training it up. Strap it up.
Junior, come over here and hold this. Hold this side
Right,
right there.
right.
So, but because food attacks so many is attached to so many different senses,
Mm-hmm.
it's
Mm-hmm.
hard to break away with that. Because see, with food, you can touch it, you can taste it, you can see it, you can smell it. Come on now, it's hard. It's hard to pull away from what we call, I guess, familiarity or even comfort.
Yeah,
Comfort food, if you will.
yeah,
Um, but I promise you, once you, because I mean, I watched all the documentaries,
yeah,
Forks Over Knives, Cowspiracy, What the Hell,
yeah.
and it wasn't even about, just, going vegan for the sake of, um, I want to be I want to save the planet, I want to protect the animals, and
Yeah,
that's all fine and dandy.
right.
My thing was, I want to, when my grandchildren come here, I don't
Mm-hmm.
want to be talking about my knees hurting.
Right.
I want to talk about my back hurt. I want to be able to run and jump and do everything just. And it's crazy because I was researching the community. I think it's called the. Forgive me if I'm saying this wrong. I think it's the Onaka or Osaka
Uh-huh.
community in Japan, where they
Uh-huh.
have the highest percentage of what they call it, centennials yeah, I think it's called centennials.
Oh yeah.
People that are
People get
100.
past 100. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so I was studying these people, and the main two things that they said that they did was they had a pretty healthy diet, mostly like fish and rice, uncontaminated, not like the stuff we sell in
Mm-hmm.
America with all the GMOs and all that stuff.
Right.
And another thing is they kept moving.
Yeah.
Like you got 70, 80, 90-year-olds in the park doing yoga in Japan.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah. It's a but
but
it's the value system.
absolutely. Yep. It starts here because of what I value externally
Yep.
is why I'm going to value even more what is internal.
Right.
So
Right.
I value the fact that I get to, play with my daughter and pick her up and what have you.
Yeah.
I want to be able to do that for a long time. I don't want to be, you know, I don't want to be hurting. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right. But that's the
So
thing. I mean, it's for it. The more we bring the external and internal values into alignment, like we said before, that's real freedom. This other
man,
chasing, comparing, not knowing, being a slave to the yes,
yeah.
that's not freedom.
Nah, not at all. Not at all. Not freedom. Not freedom. And just being, like I said, because you can it's so many things that we can be a slave to.
Yeah.
You got the what we I like to call the corporate plantation. You can be a
Mm-hmm.
slave to that. Now it's one thing if you're doing what you love. If you going
Yeah.
to work every day and you get to do what you love,
Yeah.
then you good because you actually love it.
Yeah.
But the majority of suicides happen on Monday morning.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah.
because most people are going to a place that they absolutely hate.
Yeah.
Um, and that's only because they're doing what they have to do and not what they want to do
Yeah. Yeah.
because of financial decisions that they've made.
Yeah.
Because it's one thing, because now you're a slave to the corporate plantation, but now you got all this stuff.
Yeah.
So
So you
so
can't,
now,
and if you lose your stuff,
yeah. So now,
what was it all for?
correct. So now you're a slave to the consumption, to the materials. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? So like I said, you have to get to a point where you have that enough, that
Yeah.
threshold of enough.
Yeah.
Because once you do that, then like I said, now you can really focus on building wealth because it's like, okay, this is my enough. Now I can invest. Now I can take trips when I want to because I've made a decision that this is my enough. Because you got to think about, like I said, what really makes you happy?
Exactly. Yeah.
What really makes you happy?
What would you
If
really love? And I mean,
Yeah,
and we always push past happy at steps and stages. We're like, what brings you joy? Because
absolutely
joy will last a lot longer than happy. I might be
correct.
happy that my son did the dishes, but I have joy that I'm raising someone who has the discipline enough to do something without me asking.
Absolutely,
Right.
absolutely. So
That's
yeah,
it.
so and joy is usually not centered around material things.
Not at all. Not at
Once,
all.
like, so prime example, we took my twin boys, we surprised them, and this was when they were in high school. I think their sophomore year. We surprised them with a trip, a cruise to Mexico,
Okay.
and so we got down to New Orleans and lied to them, said we was going to New Orleans, and I was like, "We're really not going to New Orleans. We actually get on the boat. We're going on a cruise." And they were just like, I remember I posted a video. They was like, "Oh, let's go, let's go," and they still talk about that trip to this day.
Yeah.
Because it's the experience,
Yeah.
not the J's, not the PS2, PS4,
PS8, whatever they
yeah,
got.
whatever
Right.
it is, not the clothes. It's the fact that they got to experience something that wasn't quote unquote tangible.
Yeah.
You know, the experience is what's everlasting. That's the joy that they experience.
Yeah.
Because the
Yeah.
Jordan's gonna get old, and PlayStation gonna come out with a new PlayStation and a new
Okay.
iPhone.
Okay.
That's fleeting.
Right. Right.
So
Right.
once you can provide that, because now you're turning that into something where you're experiencing time with family, you're creating memories.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a whole different experience, and something I can just be like, okay, here the new J's,
Yeah. And
right?
you're expanding their sense of possibility.
Absolutely,
Like, what does love
absolutely.
look like?
Exposure.
Right.
The
Right.
exposure is key. I tell anybody, you want to motivate somebody, give them some exposure.
Right. Right. Right.
Expose them to what the possibilities are.
Mm-hmm.
Expose your children to what the possibilities are.
Yeah.
Because and that's what did it for me. Once I started traveling, because I used to think that traveling outside the states was like, man, you got to be wealthy to do that.
Right.
Like you got to be rich.
Right. Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
Because wait, let me just say, JaMaury, because what? Because we were taught
we
like
programmed.
you got to have money to go on vacation because you got to have enough money to pay for them hours you didn't get while you were.
You know what I'm saying? It's like I can't be going on vacation because I gotta get this time and a half.
Okay.
You know, because most people, I think we're the only country that barely uses any of our vacation because, like I said, we're programmed to work sun up to sundown, to grind. We're a production based society. Like we got to produce. When you got other countries like Europe where they let adults take naps during the day to reset and become more productive.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's like, okay, they taking naps, but you want me to work on Saturday and Sunday, and come in on Christmas, right? So that exposure is key. So it's not about. I always say this. It's not about the money. It's about the options.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's about the options.
Yeah.
What do you get to do with that? Because, like I said, money is just a tool. It's just a byproduct. What are you doing with that?
Right.
Are you competing with everybody else? Are you competing with the Joneses? Are you living above your means? Are you just collecting stuff just to say that you have it?
Right.
You know, and it's nothing. And you know, and I might step on some toes, and I really don't care. But how many pairs of shoes and how many bags you gonna have? How many? You know,
when is it enough?
How many cars you gonna put in the driveway?
Yeah, because you can only drive one at a time.
You know what I'm saying?
It goes back to your what is the enough?
What is the enough?
What is the enough?
What is the enough, and what gives you joy?
Right.
Because it ain't because when you peel that onion back, it ain't them cars.
It
ain't the red bottoms. It ain't the Louis bag. It ain't the Burke. It ain't the degrees. It ain't like. I mean, because at the end of the day, even with the degrees, and I got mines up here, but then I look at them sometimes like I could really just put those in the back, and it wouldn't even matter.
Yeah.
It wouldn't even matter because, like I said, what is it that in turn what really brings you joy?
Yeah.
What really brings you joy?
You know, I mean, JaMaury, of course. Like we could be here all night. Okay, let me just. It's amazing. You know, I love talking to you. But we are in 2023. We are at the top of our season, and
Hmm.
each year we pick a question that we ask each of our guests on Wisdom Wednesday. Now, we're pulling this one from Don DeLillo, and he has a quote that says, "The family is the cradle of misinformation."
Hmm.
Right? So, what's one of the highlights that you know that you have transformed in your life that might have been a piece of misinformation that came from your nuclear, extended friend, family that might have had to get detangled so that your true identity could come forth?
Absolutely. I would say, and it's crazy. And I always tell people that the misinformation of money or the lack of financial literacy starts at home.
Mm,
Starts with your upbringing. Um, there was a few quotes that I say in my presentation, but I say one of the a few of the top financial lessons that I learned was money don't grow on trees. um, can we go to McDonald's? No. Do you have some McDonald's money?
correct.
Right.
Yeah, you
You know
don't
what I'm
have the
saying?
amount of money.
So I think one of the main, I guess, the misinformation pieces that I experienced
Hmm.
was that um, there's always lack.
Yes.
There's always lack. So
Right.
because there's always lack, you need to make sure that you get that time and a half, that you
Hmm.
keep, a steady job or what have you, um, and that, having a good job with benefits and things of that nature. And that's great, but that's only one side of the coin. Like
Right.
I've always been an entrepreneur at heart, but it was never cultivated.
Hmm. Hmm.
It was never cultivated because I was taught that because there's always lack, you need to always make sure that you have quote unquote job security.
Yes.
All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And and job insecurity is an oxymoron,
Yeah.
as a lot of people have experienced over these last couple of
Yes,
years.
they have. Correct. Yeah.
It
Right.
is an oxymoron, right?
Hmm.
So, like I said, that's why it's so important to be secure in the internal and secure in yourself, so you know what makes you happy. Because, like I said, even if you're doing what is manufactured based on the upbringing or the misinformation, you may find yourself getting to a point and say, okay, well, now that I know that that information isn't 100% correct,
Hmm.
then why am I doing what I'm doing right now?
If the pattern I was taught did not work, why do I keep doing it?
Correct. Because and it's understood because you have different generations and different time frames. That could have been very well true when I was growing up.
Yeah.
I'm an 80s baby.
Yeah.
Those societal norms and those sayings and could very well have been true. And it's all about, to be honest with you, it's really about perception.
Yeah.
This is my reality, so this is how I perceive things.
Hmm. Hmm.
But that doesn't mean that it has to be my reality.
Right. Right.
Because my perception, my perspective is going to be totally different.
Right.
You
Right.
know, it could very well be the same, and that's when you deal with situations where poverty is a mindset that is passed down from generation to generation.
Right.
But
Yep.
somebody got to break that mold. Somebody got to step out and say, hold on now. They got some money over there.
Right. Like the other side of our
So
family always got McDonald's money. What's
yeah,
going
yeah.
on over there?
So what they doing, and why are we not like going to a family seminar till we figure out what they doing, and we can change this whole trajectory for everybody?
Exactly.
Because I have a huge family,
Yeah.
and I have some very well off people in my family, and some folks that's still on Section 8.
Yeah.
And I always when I'm like, that don't make no sense. Like, why come when we go over here, we living high on the hog, but then
Uh
when I
huh.
go visit my other folk over here,
Uh huh.
they're struggling a little bit,
Yeah. Right, right,
Like what that math ain't math, and like we all in the same family, right? Like
right. But family values
yeah,
are not the same throughout the family.
correct. Yeah, you're absolutely right. So yeah, you
Listen,
can.
I love it. Listen, JaMaury, thank you so much. It's been amazing.
Yeah,
Um,
look, that went by so fast. I'm like,
I know. People are like, what are they talking? Listen, y'all, if you want to work on your health and wealth, your real integrated health and wealth, then you can reach out to JaMaury Norris at Work with Jay Now. Did I say that right?
yeah, workwithjnow.com.
There it is,
Yeah,
workwithjnow.com.
absolutely.
And if you appreciate what you've heard tonight on this podcast, please share it with your friends. Make sure that you not only listen, but take heed if it was stepping on your toes or touching you in your shana na. The next part is not to just be inspired. Inspiration without action is merely entertainment. It's a quote from one of my mentors, Mary Morrissey. And I like to go a little step further just to say information without instruction leads to insecurity. So don't sit with the information rolling around in your own mind, coming up with the same solutions. Step out, get some help, get some support. If you're ready to be on our community level, you can jump over to stepwithcrystal.com. We can have a vision call and see if we're the right fit for you. But thank you so much for joining us tonight. Like, share it, subscribe to this podcast. And if you haven't gotten your copy of Steps and Stories, you can jump over right now before February 1st and get an autographed copy. And if you haven't gotten your copy of, okay,
Healthy Wealth 101. You can go to JaMauryNorris.com. That's my full
right,
name, JaMauryNorris.com, and you can get that. Also available on Amazon.
hey, there it is. Okay. Information with instruction, right? Two people
Abs-
who you can come back to for questions, comments, concerns, and nonviolent disagreements. JaMaury Norris, thank you so much for joining us tonight. It is a succinct pleasure. I hope to see you
Absolutely.
again soon. Mr.
Absolutely.
Hands up, everybody. We're out.
Peace out.